Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day two of Charlotte Med Week. My name is Valerie Dellum with Lowell Associates. I have the pleasure of introducing the presenter for today, Ms. Jacquie Spearman. But before we start, today's workshop is being sponsored by Superior Mechanical. Let's take a look at the video for a little more information about their company.
My name is Leonard Birch, President and Founder of Superior Mechanical Systems Incorporated, a commercial heating and air conditioning contracting firm that has been based in Charlotte for over 28 years. On behalf of the employees of Superior Mechanical Systems and myself, I would like to say thank you to the Minority Economic Development Institute for the support they have given us and so many other minority firms throughout the state. We here at Superior have a strong commitment to our future. In doing so, we have partnered with the North Carolina Department of Commerce in our apprenticeship program. We have also partnered with Guardhouse in an internship. Our partnership with the Department of Diversity and Inclusion for Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools and Mrs. Lloyd has been a strong supporter of this firm for so many years. We are proud to say that we have two of the largest high schools that will be built in the city in the coming years. One being the West Charlotte High School project and the Olympic Relief project. Not only CMS, but the City of Charlotte and our partnership with the airport authorities, Mecklenburg County, and so many other firms. We are thankful for Hub and Med for the things that you have done to give us an opportunity to get our foot in the door to where people can see that we can perform and do the work that is put in front of us. I am very proud to say that we are the workshop sponsors for Med Week this year. And in being a minority firm, I just felt that it was important that we made sure that we were one of the top sponsors. So in saying so, I would just like to say thank you to all and have a great Med Week.
Thank you. Jacquie Spearman is one of 9 PTAC advisors available to assist businesses in North Carolina. The North Carolina PTAC advisors are co-located within the North Carolina Small Business and Technology Development Center. And the abbreviation for that is SBTDC, all these acronyms I get confused sometimes. Ms. Spearman provides PTAC services to the 8 counties in the Piedmont area, including the metropolitan area of Charlotte. She educates business associates on how to obtain contracts by providing comprehensive assistance in selling products and services to local, state, and federal government agencies. Please welcome me and join in Ms. Jacquie Spearman.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Strategies and Best Practices for Government Prospecting. So I'm going to start to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Fun stuff here. There we go. Feel like that didn't work. Let's try that again. Let me know if you see this. Valerie, you see the screen?
You're good, Jacquie.
Yes, I see you, Jacquie.
All right, let's get started. So I have some sun coming right into my eye, so I'm going to turn off my video for a moment while we go through the slides and bring it back on towards the end. Okay, so I'm Jacquie Spearman. I'm one of the 9 advisors available to businesses in North Carolina. I will provide more information about our program at the end of the presentation. So we have quite a bit to cover. So I'm going to ask that you please put your questions into the question and answer Q&A screen. And we'll try to answer them at the end of the presentation. So with that, let's get started. So this presentation is being given to you by PTAC, which is our Procurement Technical Assistance Center here in Charlotte. And our objectives today are to identify prospecting, what is prospecting in government market space, market research. We're going to cover identifying opportunities, a little bit on business development, and preparation. And finally, we will end out with resources available to you. Now, prospecting is the first step in a sales process. And many of you run your own business, so you're very familiar with this process. You need it to stay in business, basically. What does prospecting look like on the commercial side in comparison to the government side? Well, somewhat different. It takes a little bit more time and a lot more relationship management and past performance that are very important to gaining contracts with the federal, state, or local government. So we know that prospecting means to identify potential customers. Those are your prospects. Well, who are your prospects in this? These are the federal, the state, the local, and education. This means your municipalities, your universities, your public education. These are all your customers you're doing when you're doing government work. Your goal in prospecting is to develop a database, a system, a strategy, something that creates a roadmap for you on your plan for your company on gaining government work. So how do you prospect? Prospecting in the commercial side can be like taking a bunch of darts and throwing them and hope one of them sticks, right? You have cold calling, warm calling, hot calling. You have all these levels of sales, right? But with the government, with that type of method, you might luck up or you might not. But does it work with the government contracting? No, you have to be really targeted sometimes in your government work, especially in the federal space. You got to remember, for the federal space, it's really risk management for that buyer. They're trying to identify whether or not they should work with you and whether you can perform. And they have to have the proof that they, to trust that you will perform on the project. So, all right, how do you prospect? You can conduct market research on potential customers. You can estimate the value of potential contracts. There's no point in going after contracts that don't support the bottom line. If you're not going to get a profit from this, or at least the more business or repeat business, then what is the point of you doing this? You need to identify leads, respond to RFIs, sources sought notice, create a business development process, create a tracking system for lead monitoring, develop a no-go criteria for what decisions you'll make, whether or not you'll go for the contract or not. So let's cover market research. So some of the questions that you think about with market research is it can mean many things for different industries. It can mean looking for opportunities you can submit responses to today or a year from today. It could mean doing competitor research, historical spending research to see what areas or agencies or office or set-asides are most closely tied to your product or service. So some of the questions that you'll ask is, who are my top buyers? Who are the competitors? Who am I going up against? What kind of work have they done? Is it on par, or is my performance or my product better? Who can I partner with? Are there certain areas of the country that buy more services or goods? So we're in North Carolina. We have a lot of forests. So you want to look at what the USDA is doing here with the forest services. Those type of things you'll have to think about based on what product or service you provide. Look at, do you have an innovative idea? Do you need to connect with the SBIR or SPTR program? Are you able to provide a competitive pricing? So think of your best customer and the pricing that you give to your best customer. Well, for the federal government, they want to be better than that. So they want to have the best pricing available to them. Are you able to do that? So these are the things that you're trying to ask yourself during doing your market research, to identify, to get to the point where you identify opportunities. You know, how do you conduct it? So, you know, how do you answer those questions? Well, you have to identify your NAICS code. If you don't know what your NAICS codes are, you have to go to census.gov. Do some searching. Look at your competitor's site. See what they have up for their NAICS codes. Identify your federal service supply codes, your product service codes for federal work. There's also codes for, like, the city of Charlotte. There is state codes, depending on the type of work that you do. Identify yourself with the purchasing rules. You know, familiarize yourself with the purchasing rules. There is the FAR. Each university has purchasing guidelines. Public education has guidelines. There are state procurement rules. So really familiarize yourself with what is going on in that space, so you know what the requirements are for you. Here's some sites that you can determine what was spent in your industry. And this is part of the market research that we're still on, is look at usaspending.gov, you know, look at fpds.gov. These two sites have past information about contracts that have been awarded. Find out how much was spent in those NAICS codes that you looked up. You know, find out who was spending that. You know, is it the Department of Energy? Is it the Department of Defense? Who are you targeting? You know, look at the acquisition, and we'll cover that a little bit in the further on about acquisition.gov, the wish list that they have. So you're basically taking that time during this market research time and to identify 3 to 5 targets. Now, I say 3 to 5 targets because you're going to go more in depth. You're going to say, all right, so I have the Department of Energy, I have the Department of Defense, and I have the Department of Interior. Let's say those 3. So you're going to go more in depth in what they you know, have purchased, who they purchased from, what the contract pricing is, what the expectations are, who to contact. So it takes quite a bit of work once you've identified just one target. And that's just on the federal. We haven't covered state, local, or university. So that's why I want you to pace yourself before you go saying, all right, I'm gonna go for 10 to 15 and see which one works. It's not the same way as working in the commercial environment. And when you're working with government, you really want to be targeted on your efforts. All right, so now that you've done your market research, you want to identify the opportunities that exist. So we said there are 3 to 5 targets that you want to hit. And again, it's solely my recommendation so that you're more focused on hitting the mark. You're going to move into doing some data mining. You're going to identify the opportunities out there. You're going to say, all right, I need to go to beta.sam.gov, which, well, actually, all right, there's 2, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But beta.sam.gov, which is formerly fbo.gov, is where you're looking at federal opportunities. But that's over 25,000. So where are the opportunities that are less than that? Well, there's a lot of ways that you can find those. You can go to the OSBU offices. You can go to GSA eBuy. You can look at all the ways that that the agencies purchase. When you look at fedconnect.net, you can go and search the public opportunities that they have. Some of these departments advertise their opportunities there. You really just have to pay attention because you've done the market research already. You've already identified who you're going to work with. Now with this identifying opportunities, you're really going to target and create that list. when it comes to the state buying websites, there is ips.state.nc.us that you can sign up for and get some information. Each city might have their own website, towns, counties. You have to look at school systems, Charlotte Mecklenburg, CMS. You can look at transportation. There's, the Charlotte Douglas Airport. There's, the train, the rail, that shipping. That's I don't know why I put train and rail. I apologize for that. Okay. So, and the road, when you think of NCDOT, you're in this process of identifying opportunities, you're creating that list of bids that you can go for. It's a living document based on so if you think of it this way, you have a spreadsheet, you have a couple of worksheets in it. I would recommend one worksheet being the department that you're going after, each one separate, and then making a list of those opportunities within those worksheets so that you're keeping track of what you're looking for and what you're going to go after. Checking my time. All right, so identifying expiring opportunities. So again, FPDS can help you find information about contracts with details and when it expires. For state and local, you have to do a little bit more research, but basically, if an event happened, if work has happened, maybe with Charlotte Water or something like that, that most of these contracts are 3 to 5 years. So when one's coming up. And if you don't, go ask, find out what work do they have that they may have coming up. So when I talk about identifying expiring opportunities, the way that you should be looking at this is, all right, so this project or this contract ends at the end of November. So are they going to renew it? By that time, you would have already identified who you need to contact to find if they're going to put the RFP up. That way you can be already prepared on your end when that RFP comes, because you'll have 15 days, sometimes 30 days to respond. All right, identify forecast opportunities. You have who you plan to target. You have a list of things you're going to go after. Well, one of the things you want to think about is, what are their wish lists? What have they put that they want in the next year or two, so you can be prepared? When it comes to government work, it's not something you go after now. You can, not saying you can't, but it's something you're thinking about and you're planning in stages. You're looking at those forecasts that they have in the next 6 to 18 months in advance, because they have to submit their budgets. So use these sites and gather that information so you can keep a living document of what you're going after. This is, again, prospecting, creating a successful list of agencies that you are going to target. There are tools and websites that can range from free to $10,000. We do not endorse any. It is up to you. I want you to do your own due diligence on it, properly vet these programs. Some of these programs are awesome. They're great. They do a lot of things. But again, they are pricey. Some, I think the cheapest I saw was $3,000. The most is $20,000. It all depends on what you need as far as finding tools. There are a lot of free services out there. Sign up for those. All right, so you've done your market research. You've identified the 3 to 5 agencies you want to work with. And when I say agencies, say you don't do federal work, say you do state and local. Please keep in mind, when I say agencies, it could be CMS, it could be NCDOT. So think of it that way. When you've done this list, you've identified the opportunities within this list. So you have a list of things that they've already paid for, already done, or is anything expiring and going to be renewed. And you also have a list of anything that is forecast, things that they have planned. All right, so now you got business development. Well, this is where you do the work. You know, what does it mean for your company when you say business development? Well, it involves identifying, and the definitions involves identifying and qualifying new business opportunities and then determining which to pursue. How do you know what those are? What does that mean for your company? So you did the market research and you've identified your opportunities. So this is where you get a little bit more client focused. You want to know how, on the client side, you know, how do your skills, knowledge, and experience align with the potential customer? Is your service proposition focused on their mission? Can you solve real problems, real world problems? Can you describe your company's approach? Can you address the lessons learned in the markets or mistakes that you've made? Can you address how you are going to service your proposition to this agency? You know, do you know your company's capabilities? Again, with the competitors, you're always going to keep an eye on them because you want to know what they're doing. You want the contract they have. So while you're doing this, you're developing your pipeline, you've created the contact list. By this time, you should have identified the active opportunities, the agencies you're going after, the contacts within them. You've also identified any key prime contractors, your short-term pipeline, and those are difficult to predict, and it may not leave you enough time to prepare a thorough response or build a relationship. But does that mean you shouldn't do them? No. If you get an opportunity that comes up and you can bid for it, go after it. The worst thing that can happen is you get a no. And if you get a no, then at least it's a lesson learned. Don't do this too much because remember time is money. So if you're going to go, make sure that you have a likelihood of either winning or learning something from it. Long-term pipelines, they allow you to influence an opportunity, build a relationship with the agency, position your company before the opportunity comes out. You can build that pipeline by, again, researching expiring contracts and forecasts. These expiring contracts are pre-existing opportunities that may expire in the next year, 2 years, but it gives you time to prepare. So when you're identifying your opportunities and now your business development, you are reaching out and you are trying to connect with all those agencies you want to do business with. So I like a go, no go matrix. It's a guide for making the right decisions for your company. You know, you can look at an opportunity and kind of score it and see, you know, are you known by the client? Well, if you're not known by the client, how can you get known by the client? So it's not just using it to gauge something, but also to see how you can gauge yourself and maybe move forward on what steps you need to take so that you're scoring at a positive on are you known by the client. And the client can be the agency, universities, whoever you're going after. All right, let me check my time. We're good. All right, proper preparation. So you'll hear everyone say, you know, you have to be prepared, you have to be prepared. Well, what does that look like in the government space? Well, you have to complete all the registrations. Sorry, took a water break. If you want to do business with the federal government, you have to be registered in sam.gov, period. Doesn't matter, you have to go there first. Well, there are some changes happening at the end of this year, so there's a lot of steps that you'll have to take. We can guide you through that, and there's help tutorials on the website for sam.gov. But before I go any further, I really want to say, please, please, please do not pay someone to do your SAM registration. I frown upon it. I really prefer that you do it yourself. I know it's tedious. I know it takes time. There's like 20 different screens you have to go through one by one. Please do it yourself. Why? because it's important to be in control of what you present as your registration for the federal government. Why? Because recently I just had a client, and she has approved me to tell the story and not share her specific information, but she had hired a company to do this for her. And what happened is a year or two went by, they've been doing her registration, she finally won a contract. Well, winning that contract, in that registration is your banking information. Well, they can edit that, and they did. And so the payment that she got for the contract she won, she now has to search it and try to get it back and change all. She went through a lot to in the process of changing her entity registration. All of that could have been avoided had she been in control of her own registration. Now, when you're a larger company, you might have 3 or 4 point of contacts on your registration. Make sure you're keeping track of that. But in the end, you have to complete this registration for SAM. Certifications. Well, if you want a Vet Biz certification, if you want the VOSB, the SDVOSB, the WOSB, HubZone, all that, you have to be registered in SAM. I think yesterday there was a presentation for WOSB. Please make sure to go look at that. But you have to be registered in SAM in order to start the application process. With the state, you have the hub, you have the NCDOT, DDE, there are inclusion programs for county, for city, all these different certifications. Be prepared, identify what you qualify for so that you can have that already in your pocket to go when you start bidding. Don't wait until you see an opportunity and say, okay, let me go get that certification because it will help me. No, have that in advance. Be ready. Have your supply, your I don't want to talk about more guns, but just basically your supply of to target ready. So what are some things that you can do to get ready? So you have a capability statement. You've probably heard people talk about this. It's a 1 to 2 page business resume. It's your business resume that outlines the key information agencies need to do their own market research on you. So some of the things you'll find is your company data, your DUNS, your CAGE, your business description, your core competencies. What do you basically perform? What are your past performances? It's your chance to show what you do. It is not a flyer. It is not, there's specific information that go on a capability statement. Please look some up, do a Google search, look at the examples that are out there, but definitely make sure that you don't go over 2 pages, because in the real life, when it's not virtual, you're going to be handing this to someone. And you don't want to hand them 2 pages. You want to hand them 1 sheet of paper because that's all they want. And mostly you'll be handing them to federal contractors, program managers, and sometimes the prime contractors. I think I'm going pretty fast. Subcontracting. So subcontracting, I want to, give you a word of caution. Do your research and always have agreements in writing. It can be a nightmare for many companies to get paid if they don't have all things lined up in order prior to starting the work. So definitely make sure you do your research. But this is a great way for you to get into the work. If you can't get your foot in as a prime contractor, get in as a subcontractor. There are a lot of prime contractors that have subcontracting programs. There are requirements on the federal level that they have to meet. On the local and state, there's different kind of participation that they require based on the contract size. These are all things that you did back in the market research and you identified what the rules and regulations was. Well, some of that's in there. That tells you how much those contracts need in participation, whether it be minority, women, veteran, those things are there. So that some of the advantages of subcontracting, you can build past performance. You can learn from others. Learn how your contractor does the contract, so eventually you become the prime contractor. This allows you also to leverage your resources. So this is, a great way to get started. And here are some websites you can go to. There's like the subcontracting network database. There's the GSA subcontracting directory. These are just a small list of it. There's a lot of them. And sometimes it takes a little bit of research to find the right website that will assist you. All right, so you're positioning your company. We've gone through identifying, market research. We've gone through identifying opportunities. We've gone through building your business development process. And we are now positioning your company to be ready to go forward. So you need a capability statement. You need your certifications in place. You need to practice your pitch. Practice, practice, practice. So this is for positioning your company to win by prospecting, basically, right? So you want to attend agency events. Right now you're at an event. And take advantage of the events of the offerings for these, right now, especially in the virtual. The pricing for a lot of these conferences are they've gotten so much smaller, from 900 to 200 for some cases. On the federal space, there's industry days they're doing online. Get on it. Go to Twitter. Go to follow the Department of Defense on Twitter. Follow the agencies on Twitter. Find out what events they're putting up, because usually they put it up on Twitter. Sometimes they'll put it up on LinkedIn. Have a profile on LinkedIn. I really, really, really want to stress, get a profile on LinkedIn. Why? Because most contracting officers are on LinkedIn. And if you find it, and in your market research that you did, and your opportunity you identified who that contracting officer that was on that contract. Therefore, you should be taking that information and looking for that person so you can connect to, because you want to tell them about who your company is and what you can do. Again, prospecting, you're targeting your efforts. And this process can take 3 months up to 2 years before you land the contract. So are you ready for this? One of the things I want to say is on the commercial side, you want to make sure that you have an even balance, that you're not fully relying on just the government work. Your end game is to have developed a documented strategy. So how do I do all this? So, all right, Jackie, I've identified who I want to work with. I identify the contract that I want to go after. I identified, what some other contacts I need to make. What do I do? Well, you have resources available. And North Carolina, you have so many different resources available to you, that there are programs, there are I'm sorry, I got interrupted by a dog. So you want to take advantage of everything out there. You want to develop a capture plan. So we've done a couple of steps that bring you to a capture plan. You want to develop a proposal plan. So what is a proposal plan? Well, like we talked about the no-go process, you want to say, okay, well, if I'm going after these contracts, I'm going to identify the pieces of the contract that I want to have already prepared. There is no template for a contract or RFP. There just isn't. They're so different. The format is almost the same. So there are some things you can reuse, but each of them are specific to the requirements. So when people say to me, do you have a template? No, I don't. What it is, you have to read the proposal section by section and find out what the requirements are. And because these resources are plentiful here in North Carolina, you want to reach out to them to help you. And a lot of them are free. PTAC is free. So reach out to us and ask for assistance. Most importantly, you want to scale your prospecting and business development efforts to match your company capabilities. You want to remember your end game is to develop a documented strategy. You want to know what you're going after so that you're not just shooting darts. You know what you're targeting and you hit the mark. Unless you have a dedicated team or staff member to embark on this process, you want to pace yourself and you want to engage all the resources available to guide you. So we're coming towards the end of the presentation. So I want to tell you a little bit about PTAC, and the sun is out my face, so I can get the camera back on. So who is NCPTAC? So we are a statewide program. We're funded by the Department of Defense. We report to the Defense Logistics Agency, and we get additional funding through cooperative agreements. There are PTACs in every state except for South Carolina. South Carolina will be getting one in February based on the last meeting information we had. So yay, I know they've been missing their own PTAC office. PTAC provides confidential one-on-one coaching of no fee over how to sell your products and services to the local, state, and federal government, as mentioned, as Valerie mentioned. But in North Carolina, we are funded by the university system. So every state is different. The great thing about having that opportunity, that means that these universities that host us provide us services and programs that we can then pass on to our clients. So you can definitely reach out to us if you need any assistance. I think I'm almost at my 7-8 minutes before I go to the question and answer. All right, so how do we help you? So, okay, so you call PTAC, what are they doing for me? Well, I help you identify, if you're suitable to do government contracting. What do you need to do? Do you need past performance? Do you need to do more subcontracting work? Do you need to get some registrations applied, or certifications, apply for certifications? Do you need help with market research? I have a database that I can pull up a lot of information. I know I have some clients that might be on this call now. They know that I pull up lots of data and work with them through this process of identifying their procurement opportunities. I look at solicitations. So if there's a solicitation that you want to bid for, send it to me. Say, Jacquie, I'm looking to bid for this. Can you help me with it? Sure. Is there pricing questions that you have? Is there, do you want me to look at your draft, the second set of eyes, and help you? Yes, I could definitely help you with that. One of the things that we do also is prepare for audit. And in North Carolina, we assist with emergency and disaster recovery. So with FEMA, I'm working with FEMA. So there's a lot of things that we cover. It all depends on the client, and that you can work with us and we can help you through. Excuse me. So we mentioned there's 9 of us. We all have our own areas that we cover just for efficiency. However, if Robin needs me in Fayetteville, I help him. Or if I need Joel's help, he helps me. We all bring our own skill sets to the program. Mine is basically project management and strategic planning. Those are my strong skill sets that I bring to it. Everybody else brings their different skill set. And if I don't know something, I'm going to reach out to my counterpart and ask for help. We work together. So whoever you work with in your region will find out the answer for you. And this is my contact information, my email, my phone number. On our website, we have a technical library. We have some on-demand webinars and event workshops that we have coming up. So definitely take a look at our website. Also want to bring up that we are co-located with the SBTDC. So what does that mean? Well, we work with them. We're partners with them. So their services are complementary with ours. So if I'm working with you and you say, Jacquie, I need some information on a loan, I don't cover that, but I can get you in contact with somebody on the team that can help you. And vice versa, the same thing. When you start talking to them and then you say, well, I want to do government contracting, they'll pull in PTAC. And one of the things they do is general business advice. They do strategy development, which is a key thing that we have a great person on staff that does that. One of the specialty programs we also have is technology commercialization. So SBIR, STTR, that you still have to be in SAM to apply for those. So we work together, and there's a process that you might want to get funding from the Department of Defense or the Department of Energy to do some work and do some research and development in your work, in your company. If you have a brand new idea, let's talk about it. You know, I can bring in a team member from the tech team. We also have international business development. So if you want to sell your product across overseas, we definitely connect you with someone that can help you with that. And the new thing this year, because we need it, thanks COVID, is build business resiliency. So we have advisors and counselors on staff to help you with that. So you can go to their website for more information. So I'm gonna go back to this, so you at least have this up while we're talking, and I'm going to answer questions. Valerie,
Jackie, that was a lot of good information in a short period of time. And yeah, so we do have some questions. Excuse me. Ian Cato, I'm sorry. The question is, it appears that on the state, North Carolina, and local Charlotte level, the RFP focus is primarily in the construction industry. What about professional services? There seems to be a lack of diversity in spend across next codes, such as in the federal government. Is that real or just perception?
It's kind of both. I won't say that it's reality, because it all depends on what you're looking for. So let me just talk about North Carolina. So North Carolina does have those services. They need them. They're not just working alone. They need services that are not in the construction. They do need like IT help. They need, you know, event planning. All those things happen, but it takes a little bit more digging, and it's not always out there and readily available to you. When it comes to the Charlotte area, it really is just managing a relationship, looking at the past archive. They actually have a great website that archives their solicitations. Go look at it. Take a look and see what was awarded a year ago, recently. There's contacts on there that you can reach out to and find out, hey, are you going to do this again? Do you know anyone in the Charlotte, you know, city that are doing something else similar? On the federal level, there is a lot of money spent on professional services. You just have to really dig and find out which agency you're going to work with. There's lots of money available, contracts out there. The bad thing is that usually those that can perform it are large prime contractors. So you're competing against large prime contractors. But if you are veteran owned, if you're women owned, if you're in the 8A program, you might have a leg up. I have clients that are 2-3 man teams that have won multi-million-dollar contracts in professional services. So really, it just takes a lot more targets. So it can be both.
Okay, I have a question from Faith Buddha. As a new business with only one client, how is it appropriate to include prior projects that I participated in but were not done solely under my business?
All right. So this is your past performance. You did this work, even though you did it for someone else. Am I reading that correctly? Yes. So when you're working with, you're going to only include your own projects, but you want to have a conversation to say, these are the things that I've done on past projects. So you won't include specifically, so say you've had one project and you've done 20 when you work for ABC company, right? So that experience is valid. That matters. You just need to make sure you word it in a way that you are not revealing company information, but your experience with it identifies, this is who I've worked with. So I've worked with, say there's a construction company you've done something with, but you can't name it because it was done on your other company. So you'll say, I worked with a 50 employee size construction company by doing this. It's just really just crafting your message, and you can do it. It's valid, and it's valid experience. So don't let that go.
Okay, I have a question. There's no name for this question. What about architecture and engineering? Okay,
What specifically about architecture and engineering?
it just says, and actually the question is, it's from risco.com, www.renzoco.com. And they just ask, what about architecture and engineering?
So on the federal level, those are usually the ones that get the prime contracts. They're the large engineering companies. My recommendation is if you want to get your foot in them there and look at what subcontracting opportunities exist with them. A lot of these companies have an actual registration program where you can register to become a subcontractor with that company. Go look and see what that is. But those services are needed. You know, we could talk about the NAVFAC projects that are the MILCONs that are happening in Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point. So these are there. They need architecture. They need these engineering services. So find out who won it. You know, see if you can reach out to them. See if you can be a subcontractor with them.
I have a question from Tangela Davis. Says, when building relationships in the federal space, is it better to build the relationship with the direct customer or the contracting officer?
So you want to try to get to the program manager, because the contracting officer has been given their set of expectations to manage it. You want to try to connect with the contracting officer to find out who the program manager is, who's making these decisions. But you want to do both. You don't want to leave one untouched. You want to build those relationships so that when the contracting officer gets the requirements from the program manager, they're thinking of you. But you want to really influence the program manager to craft the need based on what you can provide. This is the term that they use of influence. So both of them are valuable relationships. It depends on, they both require different methods of engagement.
Okay. I have a question from Jay Calloway. Can you provide a list of free resources with contact information?
So I can't provide you with a list of free resources because there are many. One of the things that you want to look at is identify what your need is. So if you need help with QuickBooks or you need some training on specific business, look at the small business centers. They have a lot of programs. The SBCs that are out of the community colleges, great programs that they provide, lots of training. But because there isn't a specific list, you really want to just what you're specifically looking for, you want to go look for it. If you want to work with the military, there's the NCMBC. There are a lot of different resources. You just have to find them, but there's no specific list.
Okay, great, Jackie. I think you've answered all the questions. I don't see any more waiting at the moment.
We do have one more question that came through Hoover from Kendra Hart. She wants to know, is the capability statement that you spoke of found within the SAM registration?
Yeah. So your capability statement is your one-page document that you're going to send to prime contractors, contracting officers, program managers. It is really going to be your marketing tool to basically make an introduction and ask for a capability briefing. You know, have someone talk to you and tell them who you are and find out what they have coming down the pipeline on their side. But there is a capability statement part of the DSBS profile, which is the SBA small business profile, which is connected to SAM. So when you're doing your registration for SAM, there's a section that creates a separate window to the SBA profile. All the things that you put in your capability statement, a lot of those keywords and descriptions should be in your DSBS profile. And it should be saved there. You might have to create a login there. I think so, you do. to put all that information in. So you're just taking information from your capability statement and putting it into your profile. But that statement, that one-page document, is going to go out. You're going to market with that. And that's the end.
That was the only question that I saw come up through Hoover, so I think we're set there.
All right. So again, I'm Jacquie Spearman, and that's my contact information. You can email me if you have questions. You go to our website. Thank you, everyone.